All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Needs for Youth, Health and Wellness for the Long Term, a part of the Human and Social Services track. I'm Amy McKelvey, your room host. I hope you enjoyed your previous sessions today and some great keynote presentations. As a reminder, the conference goes today until 5:30, and then tomorrow there's an additional half day of sessions with a great closing keynote, David Kennedy, and a surprise virtual social tomorrow from noon to 1. If you missed a session today, they will all be recorded and will be posted on the Iowa Ideas website. During this session, please feel free to submit questions using the chat panel in Whova to the right of the screen. As a reminder, please keep the comments and questions related to the session topic and respectful, as bringing people from various perspectives and points of views is what makes Iowa Ideas such a unique, successful experience. Please remain muted during the session and use hashtag Iowa Ideas 2020 to share your big takeaways and what's moving you throughout the conference. These pieces and our coverage of the conference will all be part of the Gazette's Iowa Ideas content throughout the year. And now I'm happy to introduce Adam Sullivan, who will be the moderator for this session.
Thanks, Amy. I'm Adam. I'm an opinion columnist at the Gazette, and I'm excited to be here with you. We have a really great panel. Thank you to all of our audience members for joining us. As Amy said, the title of our panel today is Needs of Youth, Health and Wellness for the Long Term. What we want to discuss today is holistic needs of children from early childhood to young adulthood. We want to discuss opportunities to identify families in need, collaboration between agencies, and challenges of supporting youth as they age through services. We're actually really lucky. We have organizations today that actually serve people from the prenatal stage through after graduation, after they turn 18. So it really is the full spectrum of child services. I want to start by giving each of our panelists a few minutes to introduce themselves and give a brief overview of their organization. Let's start with Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Jen Meier from IJAG, and I'm joined today by Dani Tuescher. She's our IJAG specialist in Dubuque. And just a real quick overview of IJAG. We're a nonprofit organization that connects business and education to build leadership and career readiness skills through academic support, career exploration, mentoring, and work-based learning. IJAG serves nearly 4,000 diverse students in grades 7 through 12, plus 1 year post-graduation. Each year in Iowa, and we really help them build the skills needed to graduate high school and successfully enter the workforce. We partner with 27 school districts in Iowa through 71 programs, and more than 200 employers partner with us to provide academic support, workforce development, career exploration, work-based learning opportunities, and just to really help those students that are facing barriers to graduation and employment. All IJAG students that are in our program face about 8 barriers or more that they bring to school with them each day. And those typically impact their attendance, could be behavior. They may not be on track to graduate for many, many reasons. And so we really try to help them through getting to that finish line of graduation and then create a plan after. The students in our IJAG program have the opportunity to learn and build skills in an unconventional classroom setting through project-based learning, employer engagement, and trauma-informed care. IJAG really relies on that real-world project-based approach and creating personal relationships, which for our students is really the key to all of the success of our students and for IJAG's program success. All of our education specialists, like Dani, they work in a conventional learning environment, so our classes are part of a regular school day in a normal classroom, and all of our classes help increase career opportunity, awareness, and show students how to achieve that next step to their career or education through building strong relationships, helping build resiliency, which is another key factor in that wellness piece, and developing a post-graduation plan. And really we focus and do all of these things through trauma-informed care, which is critical for both our students, our specialists, and informing employers about trauma-informed care and how that can help them be successful employers to their potential workforce. Employer engagement, that includes our classroom engagement, mentors, going out to do job shadows and tours, and then also including work-based learning opportunities, pre-apprenticeships, internships, just a lot of that exposure and hands-on learning experience. And we do all of that through project-based learning, which our students have a voice and choice in what they learn and how they learn it. And so all of that builds communication skills, more awareness for students, and helps them get to that finish line.
Dani, did you have anything you wanted to add to start us off?
I think Jen got it. Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. And now let's go to Megan. Can you give us a little bit of more information about your organization?
Yeah, I'm Megan. I'm the project director over at Youthport, and I have been with Youthport for the past 3 years. I plan our math, reading, and STEM activities for after school, as well as our enrichment opportunities. And so a little bit about Youthport. We're in a unique collaboration here in Cedar Rapids between Boys and Girls Club, Tanager Place, and YPN. And so Youthport, we just aim to maximize the strengths and resources of all 3 organizations involved, empowering them to meet the needs of children and families in low economic neighborhoods throughout Cedar Rapids. And Youthport originally was created to provide a referral network between the organizations for services and programs that they offer, just kind of to break down barriers for families in need to make resources more easily accessible.
Thank you. Tisha, could you tell us a little bit about your organization?
Sure, yeah, thank you for having us, and welcome everybody. I hope everybody's making it through that afternoon slump. I already had my afternoon chocolate. So my name is Tisha Ritter. I'm the Director of Development at YPN, which is Young Parents Network, that some people know us by. We are that organization that starts with kiddos even before they're born. So our client base, typically our core program serves parents who are between the ages of 13 and 27, and they're parenting children 5 and under. So that's really our core base of who we serve. However, as the years have gone by and as funding is available, we're able to expand those services a little bit. It's why I really love this conversation and talking with these other groups. It's, you know, one of the reasons Youthport was created, because parents and their kids don't stop needing services when their kid turns 5. And so I'm excited for this conversation to see how ways we're already currently collaborating and how we can do more holistically. But ideally, participants, we like to get participants in YPN as soon as they know they're pregnant. So as early in the pregnancy as possible is when we'd like to get that first connection with a participant at YPN. At that point, they are with a prenatal specialist, and the focus really is on a healthy pregnancy and a birth plan. So we know that healthy moms equal healthy babies. And so a lot of that education starts very, very early with the development of the child in utero, and things that moms and dads too can do to help that baby be born healthy. Even our early literacy initiatives begin before baby is born. So there's a lot of encouragement. Reading to the bump, if you've heard that before, is encouraging mom and dad and caregivers to begin reading to the child even before they're born. At that point, our programming follows parents along the development of the child. So once they move past prenatal and the newborn stage, they then follow along the track from infant to toddler to preschool. And we move them along that way. So really a family could be involved with YPN for about 6 years. So from beginning of pregnancy all the way through the child entering kindergarten. And really the focus of that education and the service is, like I said, really focused on that developmental plane of where their child is. So moms who have a newborn have a lot of different needs and need different information than a mom who has a 3-year-old, for example. So a lot of our services and programming revolves around that. And early literacy is a piece of that too. And I know Megan might touch on this. One thing that our organizations do through Youthport is a lot of early literacy information.
Thank you. So I got a round of questions for each panelist here. I'd like to stay with you for a minute, Tisha. Can you tell me how clients typically come to you, and what are the challenges that they're facing that necessitate getting some help?
Sure. A couple of different ways that clients get to us. One, our most popular referral source right now is word of mouth. So a lot of our clients talk to other clients. They have friends or neighbors or even just what we call our YPN ambassadors, people who are friends of YPN, get the message out by word of mouth. We also have developed really close relationships with health centers. So both hospitals, both St. Luke's and Mercy, we are collaborating with the Eastern Iowa Health Center very closely. They're our partner with the Eastern Iowa Diaper Bank. A lot of the different agencies around town know about us. We make sure they know about our services, and even high schools, even the local high schools and schools knowing that we're here in case they do come across somebody who could benefit from our services.
Thank you. I'm interested in exploring the idea of a referral network and having those pipelines to different services. Megan, that's kind of what Youthport specializes in. I understand in some cases there's so much need that some families might face a waiting list or have barriers to accessing certain services. But Youthport within your three organizations, if I understand correctly, that reduces the barriers. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so Youthport, we're actually really fortunate to have a pretty seamless referral process between all three of our partnering agencies. So staff at any of our partnering agencies can make a referral and to another one of our organizations. And so as soon as they send the referral form over that they think a program or a service would benefit one of their clients at another one of our agencies, we can get that the referral form sent right over, and they are, calling either that day or within 48 hours to get services started or to do an intake. So it's limiting the wait time that they have, definitely to get them into services that they need or that they would benefit from.
And since your three constituent organizations kind of have different focuses, is it common that clients will, at some point in their young life, will need services from multiple organizations?
Yes. So we don't have actually numbers right now that how many exact are in all three organizations, but definitely, like a YPN participant may need tanager services for their child. And so the referral process just to get them, started in any of tanager's services is pretty seamless. As well, if they need like after school programming for Boys and Girls Club, we can make that referral to get them started in one of the after school sites that Boys and Girls Club has here in Cedar Rapids.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I want to turn to Jen, right? Do you go by Jen?
Yes.
So your services are very graduated, so by different age groups. Can you tell us first, how are students identified, and then kind of how they age through the programs?
Sure. So our students are typically identified through the school is one of the main programs where they are looking at the students that may have low socioeconomic barriers. There different types of barriers that our program accepts, but it's really coming from the school. The counselors, other teachers can refer our students. Our specialists do an amazing job in researching the different students that are coming up into their grade levels. And so it really comes from referrals of people that know the students really well. We also get referrals from outside organizations too. So our partners are always a great recruiting sort of tool for our programs as well to help them in school with that academic piece. Our middle school programs are really set for helping our students build confidence. It's all about that social emotional support and building self-awareness, building their communication and team building skills. And we really do a wide range of career exploration at that age so that they can start discovering their interests. For our 9-10 programs, there's a strong focus on relationships and more in-depth career exploration. We're really building those work-ready skills. Many of them our students are getting their first jobs, they're filling out their first applications, having their first job interviews and networking. And then we really have a strong focus on that academic remediation so that they are making sure that they're caught up, on track to graduate, they're attending school, they're having good behaviors. So really those relationships with their specialists, that's what they're doing in that program, helping them set goals to get to the end of high school and get to graduation. And then really our 11-12 programs are honing in on those career ready skills. We introduce them to many employer partners. We have mentors in our classroom that are professionals from the community. We help our students with resume preparation, interview prep, mock interviews, creating their post-grad plan, whether it's going on to school or training or a short-term certification. We do a lot of registered apprenticeships, and so it's really just helping them take that next step to be ready for post-graduation. And we also provide that deeper hands-on, on-site experience with employers to help our students understand that it could be an environment that they're interested in. They like the people that they would be working with. They feel comfortable there. They feel like the employer is, a good place that they could sort of build that work family. And I think that's one thing that our students are really striving for, is to find a place that they feel comfortable doing something that they're interested in. So I think Dani will tell you a little bit more about the actual student side, but our main focus is building those relationships, building the networks in the community, and making sure that our students have a good path to graduation and career path for post-grad.
Thank you. Yeah, Dani, can you tell us a little bit more about the older students you serve? I understand you're in the school setting, but it's kind of a different type of class. And then also, as they graduate, what is the continued engagement like from your side?
So students can join IJAG as 7th graders and then move through the class up until the time they graduate, or they may join as a first semester senior. So some of them have had the program throughout their whole academic kind of career as older students, and some of them are just coming to us as beginning 12th graders. So it kind of depends, on how much IJAG they've had before, how ready they are to go when they graduate. But once they graduate, it is at least once a month check-in with them. And then I've done anything from helping them to order transcripts because they don't know where to do that, or just helping them. Some of them just want someone to tell, like, hey, I got a job, or hey, I got my first apartment. So a lot of it is just them knowing that they have someone to celebrate with. Other times it's, hey guys, there's a career fair here. This is your interest area. This is where you need to go. And then some of them, it's a phone call 2 weeks after graduation. I probably should have listened to you. Now help me do everything, So what issue is there not at the time of graduation, So it just depends. But it's really about them knowing that they have a safe place to land if they need to talk, if they need to celebrate, whatever they need to do, they still have a connection to high school.
Mm-hmm. That's an issue that comes up in a lot of these discussions. You mentioned how do you fill out a job application or things like that, kind of those soft skills. Tisha, with the parent clients you work with, is that some of what you see as well?
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting listening to Jen and Dani talk. Not only do we focus on kiddos between the ages of 0 and 5, a lot of our parents are young as well. Our average age of a client is around 19. And so, not only are we dealing with educating them about the different planes of development of their child, they themselves are in a very important plane of development. And so those are absolutely things that we talk about as well. So we have 40 weeks a year. We're doing educational sessions with our families. And as I mentioned, they progress along the age of their child. But about, half of the time, we're talking about that stuff with their child and ways that they can help with that development. But we're also then focusing on the parents and things like job skills, and what are their goals. Our program staff work a lot with each of our parents on, where do they see themselves in the future? What barriers exist for them? And that just because maybe they are, 19 or 20, maybe they're still in high school, maybe they just started college, that they still can meet the goals that they set for themselves, maybe a little bit harder. But, just as Dani is a resource for those students she works with, we're a place for that as well. And it's always great for somebody to have that place, to say, oh my gosh, I got Johnny to go on the potty, or, those kinds of successes too might look a little bit different than what their peers are going through. But that same idea of having a support person that is there to listen and sort of guide you through those things is really, really helpful. So yeah, we touch on a lot of those same issues that I'm guessing that Dani and Jen see in their line of work.
Mm-hmm. One of the focuses of this panel and of the whole Iowa Ideas conferences is finding opportunities for collaboration and highlighting examples of successful collaboration. So I'm going to ask the same question to each panelist. I'd like to give you I'd like you to give us an example of some kind of collaboration that could be a referral relationship, shared space, a funding partner. Explain how that relationship was formed and how it's evolved. I want to start with Megan because Youthport is basically a total collaboration. And specifically for you, if there's other clusters of services that are interested in kind of shoring up or solidifying that into more of a Youthport model, where did that originate and kind of how is it structured?
Yeah, so Tisha might have to help a little bit on this one, but yeah,
Sure.
Youthport, I've been here for 3 years, and our collaboration between all 3 organizations is really smooth. We do our after school program. K through 5 is my main focus, but I've got kids who have younger siblings, so then they are involved in YPN or they need the mental health services that Tanager offers, and we're able to bring in a therapist to both of our after school programs to get kids services that they might not normally seek out themselves, or staff that just think or know that they need some mental health services. And so Tanager and YPN have both been great at collaborating with our after school program, as well as doing, early literacy. I do preschool programs at both of our after school sites to focus on that early literacy piece as well. And so I think just, our collaboration is a great model. We've got it. I don't know, Tisha, what else we can put in there?
Yeah, I would say really, the impetus for this collaboration was really organic. Even just within this session, you can tell that anybody who works in human services or works for a nonprofit knows capacity and resources are limited. And so there's so many of us that are experts, maybe in one area, and we can't do it all. We want to, but there's no way that we as YPN can serve every need of the clients and kiddos who come through our doors. And so we know, hey, we've got friends at Tanager, we've got friends at Boys and Girls Club who are doing these other things. They're already doing this. They're already doing it well. So instead of us trying to recreate the wheel, you collaborate, because, as Megan said, and this maybe even, we probably have YPN clients who have gone through IJAG, is, finding those other people who are doing similar work, who have the same goal. We all have the same goal, and making sure that people are taken care of from beginning to end, and that we're serving them holistically. And so the great thing about Youthport is we're able to streamline that, to make it easier for the client. This isn't about making our work easier. It's about making that referral system easier for the people we're serving, particularly around mental health. I'm sure that everyone on this panel would agree, mental health services and issues are so important right now. We're seeing a huge increase in the need, especially this year. And so when our program staff, literally Megan sits down the hall from me. And so I can, if I've got a referral, not only do we have a process in place, but she's even physically located here. Boys and Girls Club is just down the hallway. Tanager is about a block or two away. And so, you know, it makes those things easier for the clients when, instead of them trying to figure out, you know, kind of, you know, Dani was mentioning, hey, there's this fair that you need to go to there. It's hard to kind of know all of that information. And so us all working together is a way that it just helps young people especially be able to kind of navigate. I don't know if, you know, if you've ever tried to navigate even just the healthcare system, it's very difficult, even if you sort of know what you're doing. And so, you know, none of us operates in a vacuum. And so it's great to be able to work together. And there's definitely bumps and challenges to collaborations when you've got, you know, 3 organizations who each have their own mission and goals and events and programs going on. And so a lot of this is, you kind of have some extra work to do, but the benefit of that is it's helping more people. You're able to help people better. And instead of us saying, well, okay, yay, Johnny's in kindergarten, good luck. We graduate them and then we say, here you are, you know, to Boys and Girls Club. Here you are to Tanager Place. Now I know about IJAG, and I can, you know, we can make sure that they know about those services as well. So,
could I ask a quick follow-up question on
sure.
that? Is Youthport its own? Does it have its own independent board and is it its own funding agent, or is it kind of?
Yep, we do have our own board, and
Okay.
we are funded right now through a 21st Century grant and then some other grant opportunities that we've found. And so, yeah, we are our own
Gotcha.
501c3.
Okay.
And logistically, so it's not bricks and mortar. And I would just say logistically, for any agencies out there who are looking into these collaborations, we all have skin in the game. And so, you know, Megan's position is you know, funded through a grant. She has physical space here at YPN. She also has support from Tanager Place. Tanager is our fiduciary. And so Boys and Girls Club, obviously they provide the after school programming and the places for Megan to go and do the actual programs. So you're able to still operate this organization without actually having a physical place. You can't really go to Youthport, but we all kind of do that together. And we even, not only do we have a board, but we also have committees that are comprised of staff members from each agency that meet regularly. The 3 executive directors meet monthly with Megan to make sure that, you know, we're all always on the same page.
Thank you. I want to turn to Jen. Can you tell me, so JAG is a national program that you're a member of, and you also work closely with the school. Can you kind of describe those relationships?
Sure. So our national network is really that overarching curriculum. Well, it's sort of a curriculum, but they are providing us supports in sort of that structure of our organization. And then IJAG is the Iowa network. And our CEO has been with us for, I believe it's 21 years now. And she has really built up that program with assistance from the national network and the other, I think we're up to 39 states. So 38 states is, you know, all the whole network. And really our partnerships are very similar to what Tisha mentioned, and just finding those existing organizations that are already doing that work, already connected to the employers that we're trying to connect our students to in every community, and being that statewide organization. I think we have to get creative in connecting to those workforce groups, business marketing specialists through workforce development. Also our intermediary networks, you know, we leverage those through our schools. And then I even see one of our partners on here, Master Builders of Iowa. It's just finding those people that will help us connect to the employers, and it's also benefiting their members or employers to have that workforce pipeline. And so getting out, you know, the word about our organizations and what we do, it's a great opportunity to you know, collaborate. And then when you hear of someone's program, you can refer our students, or we can help, you know, connect them to someone else's program as well. So it's all this great network of organizations that are out to help people.
Dani, you're in the school building on a daily basis, from my understanding, and so you're collaborating with the traditional educators and other whatever orgs are operating in the schools. Can you expand more on that?
Yeah, so we work a lot with like our career and technical education departments. So if my student identifies as a freshman that they want to be a welder, well, then we need to get your class schedule to be in those classes. So it's a lot of connecting with the counselors and other other teachers to make sure they're taking the right courses. And then in terms of like, so they have financial literacy. They do a lot of the same stuff we do in IJAG. So we'll work together as teachers. You know, if you did this in financial literacy, submit it for my assignment too, and I'll help you make it extra shiny and pretty, you know? So yeah, it's not separate from the rest of their classes. It's a lot of, when I'm checking their grades, sharing with teachers, maybe like, okay, this is going on. You know, if students come to me in the morning, which happens a lot, I'm having a horrible day, da, 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 da. Okay, can I email your teachers and let them know, like, this is what to expect from you today? So in terms of the trauma-informed care, that's something that we collaborate a lot around in our schools, in knowing our students, knowing what's going on with them, and then sharing in a confidential and respectful way to make sure that that other teachers are learning that too. So kind of by example, they learn that not all students are going to have a great day every day, and that not all behavior is bad. Yeah.
Megan, is there a line of communication between your program staff and the educators of your school-age children?
Yes. So we have 2 sites, and so both have a program director there, and then they each have their own site. But our teachers at both schools are very involved. You know, if they're having a bad day, they either come down with the kid after school, or they'll write a note and say, you know, this is what happened, just so we are aware if their behavior after school is totally different than it was yesterday. So the teachers are very involved, and so are our principals as well. They are all for, what we're doing after school, and to try to make it easier on us, just to give us a heads up if somebody's not having a good day or something.
So it's really, I mean, it's a team approach. For even an individual kid might be working with professionals from the school or from 2 or 3 other organizations. And from what I'm hearing, in a lot of cases, those professionals are in collaboration and making plans. Is that right?
And both of our sites have a teenager therapist during the day as well at school. And so we have a good relationship with them as well. And they're able to, you know, give input about a student's behavior, or, you know, if something we need to change to help them have a better day as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So I want to turn another question to each panelist. So COVID-19 has obviously created huge challenges for every organization, but unique challenges for schools, child care providers, and organizations who are serving youth. I'd just like each of you to kind of tell me your organization's kind of COVID story, how programming has changed, but in particular, any new stress or anxiety that's caused for your clients, or new barriers that's caused for clients. Dani, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So when COVID happened in March, we were like on spring break, and then we just never went back. So IJAG pivoted right away to everybody reach out to every student, make sure they are okay. And so at that very moment when everybody was not sure what was happening, we were maybe delivering food, or we were referring to mental health, or communicating with parents who maybe lost their job and seeing what we could do to help with that. So that was initially throughout the summer. Then we continued that contact with students pretty regularly as a connection to school, because for our district, specifically in Dubuque, school was kind of optional, so there wasn't a lot of engagement on coursework. So we were keeping those relationships. It was super important to us to keep those relationships with the kids and to make sure they knew they had somewhere to reach out. And so by doing that, we were able to retain and make sure kids knew what was going on when school started up again. You know, like I contacted all of them. Hey, did you fill out the survey sent by the school? And they're like, what survey? You know, so just making sure that all of our kids that we had before were on the ball when school started back up again. And then in terms of what we're seeing, I think it's hard for me, even as a teacher, like there's half the kids every day. So there's half the excitement, like there's half the drama, there's half the regular like buzz that happens during a school day. And we're all struggling with that. So yeah, the kids are okay with the masks. The kids are kind of okay with the distance. They're doing all of that stuff. They're respectful of restrictions, but I think that there's the ability just to like live freely, kind of, in terms of not having to worry all the time, that is missing and is causing some it's just different. Yeah, they're just adjusting and adapting, and yeah.
Jay, you want to add to that?
I would say sorry.
I missed that. No, I missed what Adam
Jen,
said,
please.
so I wasn't sure if
Go
he was
ahead.
talking to me. Sorry.
Well, I'll add to Dani's in that our spring semester is when we do a lot of job shadows and tours and events where the students are very hands-on. We typically have our career development conference where it's the students' time to shine and all of the skills that they've learned, and they get to compete against each other to see who is the best public speaker in the IJAG program. But we missed all of that. And so I think a lot of those relationships and some of the opportunities, especially for our seniors, just sort of like stopped. And so I think that as they moved forward, it was just making sure that they had a plan and that they knew what they were going to do after graduation. And our specialists were amazing in helping them through those challenges. I think it also, our employers pivoted to try to create, virtual internship programs or virtual tours or, virtual mentoring. And so I think we're seeing a lot of that continue now in the fall, where it's just a different landscape now, and virtual isn't always the most engaging thing when you're really trying to build and foster in-person relationships. And so I think right now that's sort of where we're at in how do we make sure that our students are still getting that full year of IJAG and of supports and really just experiencing some of the same things that they would in a normal year. I think it's also hard for our students that are virtual. We have some schools that are hybrid. It seems like we have a bunch of different models, but those schools that are the students that are virtual, sometimes they don't always have the access to technology, or they don't have the access to Wi-Fi. And so I think just being able to check in with our students in person and see how they're doing, especially for our specialists, that's what they do. They check in on their students. And if they can't see that they're having a terrible day, then that's just a whole nother challenge that this year is posing.
Thank you. Let's turn back to the younger demographics. Tisha, can you tell us how coronavirus has impacted your services and also your clients?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, similar to the things that Jen and Dani said, our core programming is in-person groups. And so, we're used to being in a large group every Thursday night where we serve a meal, they eat as a family, then the kiddos go into childcare, moms and dads go into their sessions. One of the things that keeps our families coming back is, I always say, they come for the information and resources, but they stay because of the community that they built. Again, we're all in human services. Humans need connection. And so, similarly, there's a difference between having that person right in front of you in your presence, as to, thank goodness for technology, thank goodness that we're able to still connect in some way, but there is no replacement really for those in-person connections. So I can tell you, our participants, our kiddos, our staff are really, really missing those in-person engagements, because it's just such a part of what we do every day. But I'm really proud of us. We have continued doing those services. So there definitely are some barriers. So we definitely have a couple of different ways that we can connect with families. The majority of them do have some kind of connection. So we can connect with them via Zoom, Facebook Live. We use a WhatsApp service for some of them. It's been very interesting for us too. So we serve any parents that can come to us, but particularly we serve a Hispanic population and an African immigrant and refugee population. So we have staff who speak fluent Spanish. We have a Hispanic moms program, and our newest program is for our African refugee immigrants who speak mostly French, Swahili, and some Lingala. We do have a staff member who speaks those languages. So if you can put yourself back into February, March, kind of where you were, what you were feeling when all of this happened and the confusion and all the information. Now imagine that you are new to the culture and you don't speak the language. And so the care and the service and the information that we needed to provide to that part of our clientele was greater, and they needed more, because even just navigating the medical terminology that they were hearing and understanding how to protect themselves and their families was challenging. And so that was definitely something that we kind of had to, get into gear and help with. Unfortunately, we have the staff members who are already connected. And so they knew we were a place that they could come for that information. I'm guessing just like students that Megan has and Dani, when you've already had developed those trusting relationships, it's so nice, especially for during a pandemic, that you have a place that you can go and talk to somebody who you trust. Beyond that, really, we are still doing all of our programming as best we can virtually. So Thursday nights still happen, they just happen online. The silver lining, I guess, for that is we're able to reach more people that way. And clients who can't typically come on a Thursday night can view those video sessions when it's convenient for them. Childcare is a challenge. So it's, when you come to group, we take care of childcare for you. When you're at home on Zoom, you might have a 2-year-old nipping at your legs. So it's more challenging. We do have a home visit program too that we are able to do in some ways. Sometimes they'll meet like on the porch, or when it was nice out, we could meet outside. So we try to continue to serve. Our We Care shop is still open. We do that by appointment only. And we are also the location of the Eastern Iowa Diaper Bank. We changed that to a drive-up model. And so families, and trying to make sure that those diapers and wipes are still available, but just in a safer way. So just as we've all had to be, YPN has had to be creative and innovative in the ways that we can continue to serve and help folks out.
Thank you. Megan, can you tell us a little bit about COVID and Youthport's other programs?
Yeah, so we as well went on spring break and never returned, and we usually do programming throughout the summer, so that also did not happen. Both of our site directors were calling families, going to visit, checking on them, seeing what they needed. I know they took goodie bags and food. We do a literacy program in the summer, and so we kind of had to alter that, and we delivered books to one of our sites, which was open, and then we just delivered the rest of the books to our students at home, along with food, to make sure they were good. We went back when school opened at a 50% capacity. And so it just kind of feels like half of our students are missing. We're at like 25, and we usually have 50, along with a wait list at both of our sites. So it just kind of feels weird to be back and only have a limited amount of kids. Feels like you're missing the other half. So it is kind of interesting to see. The kids are doing well though. We have kindergarten through 5th, and they are okay with the mask and everything, but yeah, that social connection, like we've got 1 4th grader and then, 3 3rd graders. So it's just kind of weird to see how their social interactions are for after school programming. So
Dani, how are the high schoolers with the masks? Are they okay?
Amazing. Yeah, no problems ever.
Good. I've heard that from others as well. That's good to hear. So I think you all have done a great job of telling us about some of the impact that your organizations make. But as you all know, small and medium-sized nonprofits can only make so much impact on the people they serve. I'd like you to kind of take a step back and think about a big picture systemic issue that the foundational barriers for the clients you serve, and what would be kind of the big picture way to fix some of that. Let me start with Jen.
Well, I'm thinking about, and I don't have all of the answers at this point, but we sort of have some things that come up across the state that are barriers for our students and their families. Really, that transportation piece is huge for our families. You know, many of our students take buses and things happen outside of school hours. If they're looking to get to work, that's still a transportation issue, whether they're in an urban area or in some of our smaller communities, getting out to experiences or job shadows, or being able to work part-time or full-time. I would say transportation is a fairly large issue, one that we haven't figured out yet. So if anyone has any good ideas, we'll definitely take them. The other piece to that is also educating our employers in that trauma-informed way of helping. There's so much going on in the world. If employers are noticing that either an employee isn't coming to work frequently, or they're frequently late, or they just aren't seeming like themselves, I think it's really good to start to teach our employers, you know, and some of them already do this, but really noticing those things and having those conversations and trying to help them solution, you know, whatever's happening or going on with them. Sometimes it could be childcare issues, sometimes it could be transportation. And so I think for us, just getting that transformation of going from high school into their next step of life, and still having that person or family or support system then go on beyond, you know, Dani in the classroom. But I think our employers are also pivoting and being creative in some of the things that they're doing. And so I hope that continues as well. I think we're seeing a lot more of that now during this time period.
Thank you. Tisha, same question to you. What's kind of one of those bigger systemic issues that are facing the clients you serve?
Yeah, I would say transportation as well. It's huge when you're dealing with a low income population. And I call that, you know, not only just having their own individual transportation, but even having better hours and access to public transportation. I know that, you know, the buses in Cedar Rapids stop at 7 p.m. And for a lot of our family, our working families who are working third shift, you know, sometimes that's a barrier. I would also say, and this is not going to be a surprise to anyone, affordable childcare is an issue not only just for our families, but all families in America right now, particularly during this pandemic. People with small children are struggling. And, you know, when a family has to decide, you know, do I work or do I spend, you know, half my paycheck or all my paycheck on childcare? And so childcare is definitely a huge issue. I know in Iowa, I know that's been a hot topic, going all the way to the top, hopefully. So definitely something we need to still talk about and collaborate on. And I would say access to mental health care, access and affordability, being able to navigate the system. I think that's something that, again, especially right now, we're seeing a lot of increases in emotional and mental health issues for people, and it's really hard to access those services, particularly, well, all across the board. I would say for young people as well, but a lot of rural areas don't have access to those kinds of services. So again, you have, you know, those multiple barriers. Mm-hmm. You don't have the transportation to get to where you need, and sometimes then those services don't exist, or you're not sure how to access them. Right. So those are the three areas that I would say we see the most of. And I would add into, because of the populations that we deal with, I think not only is letting people understand that sort of a trauma-informed care approach, but also a cultural sensitivity and an awareness of the people in your community. I think we found during the Durate show that a lot of people didn't realize how large the African immigrant refugee population is here in Cedar Rapids. And, you know, they're a part of our community. Their kids are going to our schools, they're working in our communities, and they have different needs and some of the same barriers. But then on top of that, learning a new culture, speaking a different language. So an awareness, I think, from our community. You talked about employers and helping to educate themselves about the people who are in their community and not only just need resources, but who live here. They're our neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Megan, is there an issue that comes to mind for you?
Transportation for our families is definitely one. But then housing, after the derecho, we serve one of our African schools. And so housing, we lost students who had to move. They had to transfer schools. So everybody that they, had relationships with, they had to start over for the school system. And so that was hard. And then employment would be another option, I think, for our families. We serve one of our African schools, and so it's a community school, but they are offering, last school year, they did offer like a job fair for our African families to come and, find out different jobs and what was available to them. I think those would be our top ones for our families.
Thank you. Dani, how about your community?
Could list a few, but I think they mostly covered them. For my students or my high schoolers specifically, for me, overarching issues are self-advocacy, conflict resolution, and financial management. Like maybe let's not take out payday loans, let's put our money in the bank. Those types of things. Just teaching them like about how that works. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We're coming close to the end of our time. I want to remind our audience that they can learn more about the organizations that are represented here and connect with our panelists through the Whova site. But before we close, I want to give each panelist a couple minutes to, if there's anything they didn't mention that they'd like to mention, or if they want to leave folks with a lasting thought, and to definitely tell folks how they can support and keep track of the work you're doing. Let me start with Megan.
Yeah, Youthport has a Facebook page that updates all of our activities and what we're doing after school, and we also have a website. I'm not sure other things like that, but yeah, we do keep social media, so it's pretty active.
Great, thank you. Tisha, some parting thoughts and how to keep in touch with YPN?
Yeah, sure. I would just encourage people. I know a lot of people in our field already are collaborating. But I really encourage agencies to do that if they're not already. It really does, not only does it makes sense holistically for the people that we're serving, but it really does sort of enhance the services that you're providing, to know more about, educating yourself about what is available in the community and statewide. Particularly when you're dealing with a population sometimes that is transient. For example, people have to go where the jobs are, and the storm kind of, I had some people moving around. And so really it's important for all of us to be talking. I love this idea of this conference of people sharing information. So I would just say, we're always open to collaborating with others and talking through these issues. All of us just mentioned, areas of barriers that are affecting everybody that we're seeing. And so what that says to me is, hey, we need to have a larger conversation here. And I know that these issues were on in this conference as well in other sessions that people are talking about them. So I just wanted to say thank you to the Gazette and the sponsors of this conference, because these are really important issues that are affecting all of us every day, and we're seeing them every day. And, like Jen said, she didn't have all the answers. Like no one of us can kind of fix it all, but together, I think we can, and maybe move the needle on some of these important issues. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Dani?
I think if I'm just gonna speak to a lasting thought, I don't know if it's relevant even, but as a 30-ish-year-old dealing with adults, like I get pretty discouraged lately about the way people interact and treat each other. And every day I get to come to work and see like 16-year-olds that make me hopeful, because they're smart and they're innovative and they have a passion for justice and fairness and equality. And it's just really inspiring to know that that is what's happening in our world, is people like the students that we have. So despite their barriers, they are ready for work. And so if anyone's looking to support, IJAG has social media as well. what they need is connection. They need connection to employers and connection to people that believe in them. So if you know someone that's looking to get involved, you know someone that works for our company, you are someone that works for our company, Jen is part of our staff little team that works on that stuff. So we're always open to more people to connect with.
Hey, well, I thought that was extremely relevant. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah.
Jen, we have a few minutes left. What are your final thoughts?
Sure, I'll be quick. I just really appreciate learning about new opportunities and connections and collaborations, things that are going on across the state as well. So I would say just Dani did a great job of sort of summarizing all the things that our organization needs. But right now we're even looking for like virtual mentors or someone to explain their career and be able to interact with maybe a small group of students that would be interested in their field. We're all dealing with pivots to trying to find ways to engage with each other. And I would say that right now is our biggest barrier, is just trying to make sure that our kids are still excited to learn about careers, learn about things that they can be passionate about, gain that confidence to take the next step and be resilient and be, whoever they want to be, but they need people to help support them. And that's whether it's, 400 miles away or in their own community. I think it's just making sure that we're sharing those things. And if you hear something, you share it with other people. That's the great thing about this network and this conference as well. So I just really appreciate it and appreciate your time today.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of you joining us. I think I learned a lot. I'm sure our audience did too.